Welcome to TARTLEcast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path.
Good morning, our Tartle people listening to TARTLEcast. Welcome back again for another episode here in the new studio. Jason, I would like you to share with me this article we want to kind of focus on here.
This is from NBC News, and it's teens are bad. How many generations have considered teenagers to be bad?
All the time. It's
always
blamed
teens
them.
and then some negative thing,
It started
right?
with the Beatles, and then,
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure it was earlier before that.
I think everybody's kind of looked at the younger generation as being like out of control, but I mean that's part of growing up. It's part of who you are. It's transitioning from a child to adult.
It's an evolutive process.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to have things and do things. And you know, for me, whenever I looked at myself as a teenager, I was really dumb.
No.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I made just a ton of mistakes.
Yeah. I was passionate about basketball, so I just played basketball all the time, lifted weights, and tried to go out with girls, but I was really awkward.
Now look, you're all washed up.
Yeah, my knees are busted. Everything's never made it to the NBA.
Hanging out here with a freaking burnout.
I know, it's so sad. My teenage years were my best years. No,
Let's call it a live counseling session. This is an intervention. You want to come in?
So, teens have never known a world without data sharing, and it's creating a false sense of security. That's the title.
Mm-hmm.
So, data sharing and teens, Alex.
Why they grew up with the internet. A lot of us grew up without the internet, and most of them have grown up with cell phones. All they do is share data. They've been on, since the earliest days of their youth, they've had MySpace. Before there was Facebook. It's just like bing, bang, boom. It's what do you expect? All they do is share all the time. All their communications, they're beyond just natural text messaging. Think about having them just use Snapchat to communicate. It's straight sharing constantly, all the time.
All the time, and it's become a social norm. I mean, that's how they communicate.
That is how the communication works. It's not sending a text message. Text message is not sharing.
Right.
They socially put all the stuff out there. Their story crazy.
Yeah, I was watching somebody's teenager the other day. They were talking about their phone and stuff like that. So if I can get a teenager and they start talking to me, I always ask them, like, as a marketing standpoint, I'm always like, what apps you use?
What's hip?
How do you use them? What's cool? So I was talking to this guy, and he it was really interesting. He goes straight to Snapchat, like right off the bat every time.
Yeah.
And it's got the camera on there. And I was like, well, do you use your camera? He goes, no, I don't. I've never used my camera.
No, they don't use the camera app. They use the Snapchat one.
Yeah, they use the Snapchat camera, which is what Snapchat wants, because they're a camera company.
Yeah, it's only they're a camera company. It's only a world of sharing. That's all they know. And every time you do take a photo, something that essentially you own, they always want to share it. Whether it's a crap one or it's a really good one, it's getting shared regardless.
Yeah, and when I think of everything online, I'm talking like from the hours that they spend on Netflix to the hours that they're on video games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's to the hours that all school now is done on laptops.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really, really think about it, Alex, they're in front of a screen besides when they're sleeping.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
They got some real big blue light. I mean, we got these hot lamps over here on us, but man, they got some blue light.
Yeah, and Generation Z, born in 1997 or later, which represents today's teenagers, they never knew a world where the internet not to exist, as you had said. But what I thought was interesting was the level of anxiety, the level of depression, the level of bullying, the level of addiction, and then this, and I know a lot of this Instagram type, I'm not blaming Instagram for this, but a lot of the Instagram type fake. I mean, the magazines used to do that. Remember back in the day, the muscle fitness magazines and all those.
It's like an online
glam.
social dysmorphia.
Yeah, and it's created this feeling of inadequacy.
Yeah, like why are all these young kids getting Botox? No joke.
Yeah.
Right? And back in the day, this is not the good old days. Bullying is never good. But, you met the bully at school, or sometimes, you'd find him across town, whatever town you're in, and he'd club you up a couple times. But now you can't you can geographically remove yourself from him.
Right.
But once you're online, you've opened yourself up to all sorts of torment.
Yeah, and there's, and I know on girls especially, there's a lot of shaming.
Where
they'll make a group of, 20 girls and then send a horrible picture from another girl, and then and a lot of I listened to a whole podcast on this, and the guy was saying like suicides in teenage girls is up like 200%, bro.
Yeah, and this is tough for law enforcement too, because now they are doing a lot of their tracking online.
Right.
But what happens is, sharing's a double-edged sword. The more you share, the more you open yourself up. And, because people are not very evolved at that state, there's a lot of learning to be done. Still, even for people that are quite old, there's a lot of learning to be done. It's easy to attack someone, especially behind a keyboard. You've seen it with, trolls on YouTube, trolls on Facebook. Well, imagine if you had like an inner community circle of everyone in your school. It's only going to increase. And these kids aren't going to stop sharing. It's what they do, right?
Right.
And so when that leads to a feeling of inadequacy, it's like, that FOMO. So you got FOMO because you're watching all these people do these things and you think they're doing something incredible because they took like one cool shot, but really they're just like posing up so, they can make themselves feel better because they saw someone else doing it. But in reality, the boyfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend are just like screaming at each other after they took the shot up on the mountain, right? They're actually having a terrible day.
Yes.
But all you see is that one still frame, that one moment. And now you're judging them on a like and all these other things dependent on that. So
yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, they were talking about their boyfriend, and they're like, we just do it for Instagram.
Yeah.
So they don't even have, they're not like a real boyfriend girlfriend. They're just doing it because both of them look good, like look physically good.
Yep.
And they can post really well, to get the likes and shares and stuff.
What does that actually mean though? So when you talk about inadequacy, what you're finding is that this generation with all the sharing, with all this data, it's not giving them anything of any weight. There's nothing to hold on to with it. There's really no growth that is happening with that type of sharing.
Mm-hmm.
What is there, right? It's almost like it's flattery. It's smoke and mirrors, right? It's this false perception of what's really going on.
Yeah, and before we get into this next part, this was interesting too. I was talking to the same person, and because every time I see a young person, I'm going to ask, just because I'm curious. Because we have our big 7. And everybody can see that up on the board up there. Share data, earn money, change your world.
Yep.
We'll have them up there. We're going to have 7 slides with all of them.
Yeah, we'll make some nice artwork to go
for so you guys can look at that. But I asked this person, like, what's their number one thing? And they've done studies on this, and it was funny. So far, the people I've asked, it's been right. The study's been right. And that's climate change.
Really?
Yeah. Every young person that I talk to and ask, they always go number 1, climate change.
Yeah, because they're like, that's my future.
Right.
More so than worrying about corporate transparency. I'm freaking worried about like an ocean rising up, things drying up, and me going into another ice age.
Yeah, we have employees in the Philippines now, and just thinking, 40, 70 years from now, that could be gone.
Yeah, like 50% of the island's gone.
110 million people.
Where are they going to go?
50 million displaced.
Yeah, what happens when you displace people? We saw what happened, when people got displaced from like Libya and all those other places trying to go across the Mediterranean, Algiers, whatever.
Right.
Into Europe. Like, what do you do? Where do they go? It's too many people, too little land mass, and then you start displacing them. It's a problem. Anyway,
yeah,
I mean, we're getting away from it.
Yeah, but I mean, the similar dangers posed are unethical data use, and talks about in this article, privacy, violations, and algorithmic bias.
Mm-hmm.
And what he talks about is how unaware we are of these potential risks. And then how, especially teenagers with these online applications, social media platforms, and other base services, they're heavily reliant on data accumulation.
Yeah, it's all that data accumulation. And so if this generation is really setting like a foundation for generating all that data, it needs to be respected properly. And on top of that, if they're finding that their current sharing on their social media is lacking value, there's a place where they can go to actually find great worth in sharing, something tangible they can hold on to that can benefit their future in a financial way and a socioeconomic, political, climate-based way if they want to. And that's by, using the marketplace, the TARTLE marketplace. Now, if I'm so used to sharing, well, it's like, great, share and get paid to share, and you can put it towards the climate stability that you're trying to fix, right? That's what you want. You want stabilization of your climate. If that's number 1 for you, for your whole generation, and you guys love to share, this tool was designed for you. So this generation, what is Gen Z?
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z, you're at the end of the alphabet. but you're first in our mind because you're going to be the ones that have your children take over the positions of power and resources that this world has so wonderfully crafted in our world of capitalism, and it's time for you to step up and make that change.
Well, you also have to. I mean, Gen Z also has, unfortunately, they're going to be old when we're fucked. And I'm using that word because I want it to make sure that
it actually resonates well. Yeah, that's the word.
And then number two, their children could possibly be extinct.
Double fucked.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it gets real when you think about that.
Yeah. And
Gen Z's screwed.
And, for older generations that are phasing out and they got all the material wealth and everything, they're not looking behind. Whatever. We're lucky that the generation before Millennials just like kind of doing their thing. Shout out to some people like Elon Musk, people that are in that sort of flavor of entrepreneurialism.
Right.
But we have a limited time as these generations continue to crop up. And so we got to make sure that we set a proper, healthy foundation for them to continue to evolve.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, and he talks about this in the article, and I think it's so important, is this personal identifiable information, PII, the behavioral data, the preferential data, the usage data, and all of these activities just constantly getting accessed, analyzed, and used to retain and attract users on these social media sites, and then keep users longer so that they can monetize that engagement.
You're attracting people to something that's not delivering them any sort of substantial value, and you're the only one reaping a benefit from it because you can advertise to them. But at what cost to humanity?
That's the question that needs to be asked.
Yeah. At what cost?
At what cost to humanity? And we're not saying, like everybody thinks that we're, because I've had a couple comments, they're like, well, you guys are like down on Instagram or Facebook or cool. No, we're asking them to look into their consciousness.
Yeah.
And say, because I mean, could you think about that? We would love it if Google and Facebook teamed up with us and said, hey, let's all work. Let's figure out these big seven. There's something we can all agree on.
Wouldn't have to have TARTLE.
Yeah.
But guess what? They haven't done it. No matter how much people scream, shout, walk in the streets, talk about it, no matter how many unethical things they do, no one did anything. So that's why we're doing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to be here if they wouldn't do it. We're not bashing on them. They just won't wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
We do. We got 2 cups of it right here.
We got 2 cups.
Yeah, 2 cups
for
of coffee.
you today.
Yeah. If you want a turtle mug, I'll throw it on the website. Maybe you can purchase one.
Or we're going to do some like hidden URLs, like links with Easter eggs. It's like an Easter egg hunt. No, but I mean, have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
So yeah, you just do a URL and like a little thing, and we can put them on Instagrams and stuff like that, Facebook or whatever. And then you got to kind of figure out the trail, and then it finds it, and then on that website it's just a landing page, and you put your information in.
I think it's great.
Yeah, let's see who catches on to that.
Yeah, who's the first one on the breadcrumb? Who's going on the Hansel and Gretel thing? There's no witch at the end.
Who's going on the flock?
Yeah, who's going to use the flock? Who calls it a flock? When I think of flock, I think of like hunting and like guys out there like.
What's the thing where they flock, like where they flock you or something like that, or what is that?
Flog.
Flog. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you get whipped with like a thing on your back,
like Game of Thrones style.
Yeah, something. Game of Thrones. No, flocking is like people flock to it. Geese.
Well, don't they do it? Don't you do that with your tree if you want to paint it white or whatever?
Flock a tree.
Yeah. Is that the white stuff that you spray on the tree?
Flock a tree.
I think is it flock?
I don't know if it's called flock. I typed in flock a tree. Yeah, how to flock a tree. Yeah, with a K at the end. Flock a tree 2 ways. Thank you, Better Home and Gardens.
Oh, awesome. We're out. Get the flock out of here.
Get the flock out. I'm flocking out of here right now. Flock this. Flock this podcast.
Fuck the TV. Fuck the lights.
Flock it all.
We're trying to do this podcast. There are people out there.
Flock that camera.
Source data defines the path. What's your data worth?